Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and it's time for part 3 of the Q&As, and I already got my hat on, so let's just get to that first question. Bad posture and sitting down for long periods of time have led to my knees grinding and clicking at the slightest bend. What exercises, movements do you suggest to realign my knees, hoping to not have to rely on surgery? Alright, the problem you're having is probably due to extremely weak hamstrings. Your hamstrings have probably tightened up, and your hamstrings have gotten weaker due to them being pulled in and your back being rounded all the time. What I'm going to recommend for you due to this is that you need to do a lot of extra hamstring work and extra hamstring stretching, meaning you should probably get to where you can stretch your hamstrings on different heights, starting with a little low chair or stool, all the way up to where you can stretch them on a countertop, where you can lean in and grab them while keeping a curve in your lower back, that protective curve in your lower back, not rounding forward. That's what you need to work on. So you need to work on their mobility and flexibility, and you probably need to strengthen those hamstrings up. Obviously, deadlifts, deficit deadlifts, Romanian deadlifts are going to be useful. Because you have tight hamstrings, though, I had to do a lot of this for Brittany. She had really tight hamstrings when we started. Romanian deadlifts might be your go-to for now. So you can get that flexibility back in your hamstrings. That's going to be a fantastic exercise to do that because it uses a stretch reflex. It's going to be less chance of injuring like your lower back. A lot of times I would tell guys you need more hamstring, do deficit deadlifts. But if you're someone who's having these alignment issues, deficit deadlifts could potentially hurt your lower back in that situation. So I think for you, focusing really heavy on the Romanian deadlifts for a while and stretching your hamstrings. And then if you need to, do some hamstring isolation work in there, some hamstring curls or whatever, but you need to strengthen those hamstrings up so that you get better stability in your knee joint, and you need to work on their flexibility. All right, next question. Hey man, I have strength goals for my deadlift, Pendlay row, and weighted chin-ups. I was wondering if I could do all three every full body session 3 times a week with only 1 work set per exercise. Working with a 5-rep set, adding reps until I can get to 10, and then adding 10% or so to the bar. My main concern is, can I recover from this? Thanks. Deadlifting heavy 3 times a week is tough to recover from. Depends on what other exercises you're doing. If you are squatting also, probably not. You're going to have to cut way back on the squats if you're going to pull this off. And that's fine. I mean, the deadlift will handle your lower body development too. So you might want to back off there. That's what you're going to need to do. But can you recover from it? Yeah. Particularly like the Pendlay rows, 1 set of Pendlay rows, even with those workloads, that's actually really easy on your recovery. Chin-ups also to some extent. The deadlifts are going to be problematic for you. So again, what you're going to have to do is again, watch your other big full body exercises. Don't go overboard squatting. You're going to need to listen to your body, pay attention to your body. Look for signs of deloads, of needing a deload. Look for signs of overreaching, and make sure that you don't really overreach very long, more than a week or 2 at a time with that sort of frequency of deadlifting being rep work like that. That's what I would recommend, but it's totally doable. It can be done, and it's not a bad idea. All right, next question. Hey Jason, greetings from Denmark. I'm currently doing closed grip bench press. Overhead presses in dips as primary development for my pecs, but I feel like my upper chests are still a lacking point, as many other guys think too, in my experience. So is it a thing that you can actually shape your chest by doing, for instance, a lot of closed grip incline bench press instead of flat bench, or your pecs purely shaped from only your genetics? All right, muscle shape is largely genetic. However, different exercises can emphasize certain parts of a muscle. They can emphasize certain parts of a muscle. If you really and truly feel like your upper chest is lagging tremendously, what I'm going to recommend is that you make sure with all your overhead work that you are using a barbell. Drop all your dumbbell overhead presses, all that bullshit. And you need to be doing a rack position overhead press, whether it's a strict press, push press, where you come all the way down to the shoulders. Full range of motion. That's going to help there. Number 2, yeah, if you don't need the flat bench for any reason, your upper chest is really struggling, do a bunch of incline close grip. Replace it for a while. And you're talking about dips. Well, if your lower chest is really well developed and your upper chest, you're not happy with it, cut the dips out and replace that with more incline and overhead work also. There's no reason you can't do all of that and still maintain the muscle and strength in your lower chest. And when you come back to those other exercises, it'll only take you a week or two to be back where you were or even improve. Because if anything, if a certain part of your chest is lagging and it's the primary mover in your bench press, if you develop that, it might actually improve your bench press once you regain the motor patterns from doing it. So there's nothing wrong with that. Just focus on all your upper chest for a while. Change the way you do your overhead work. Replace all that other chest work with stuff that focuses more upon the upper chest a little more. Problem solved. All right, next question. Could someone make acceptable hypertrophic gains by doing one set per exercise but every day, essentially doing full body training on the daily? Thank you, good sir, and keep up the good info. Can they do that? Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I've talked about that in the past. That isn't a bad method to train. I usually tell most people that full body 3 days a week is probably close to ideal. But if someone really wants to train 6 days a week, and hypertrophy is your number one goal, doing low volume of extremely effective exercises with a minimum workload to stimulate good hypertrophy will actually do very, very well. And could that be done with one set? Yeah, absolutely. That can be done with one set. Absolutely can be done with one set. So yeah, give it a try. Just again, you need to have some sort of game plan when you come in to do it. Don't just come in and start doing a bunch of sets to failure. You need to have an actual plan and a progression pattern picked. You need to have good exercise selection picked because you are getting very limited exercises per workout. When you're training with that sort of frequency, you do need to be very, very picky in your exercise selection. You need to make sure you're picking the best stuff and ideally picking good compound exercises that are going to cause overlap. Because if you're going to do one set, you want every big exercise you do to actually help stimulate 2 or 3 extra muscle groups to a greater or lesser extent so that it carries over to that one set you do on the next exercise. Meaning, don't do a lat pull down, do a chin up. Because a chin up will help your biceps more, it'll help your upper chest more, etc. Be selective in your exercise selection if you're going to do this. But yeah, it's totally doable. It does work. It can work. People have made it work in the past. It's just a matter of personal preference. How often are you really wanting to get to the gym? But again, limiting the volume if you're going to do it every day, I think that's the smart approach. That way you don't end up hitting problems with overtraining, excessive overreaching, chronic overuse injuries, and all that stuff. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time in part 4.